Hi, in this video, I'm going to explain some GPAT model questions with explanation. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe to my channel for more videos. Question 1. So, which of the following is an accurate description of the phospholipid bilayer in cell membranes? So, you can see the options. It is made up of two layers of phospholipid polymers. It is made up of two layers of phospholipid molecules with the tails pointing away from each other, and it is made up of two layers of phospholipid molecules with the tails lying parallel to each other. It is made up of two layers of phospholipid molecules with the tails interacting with each other. So if you see the options all are confusing, we can observe, but if you know the exact structure of phospholipid bilayer, you can easily make the answer. So if you observe this structure, if you remember this structure, the phospholipid bilayer. So this is the phospholipid bilayer. So you can see the hydrophobic tail, and this red color is the hydrophilic tail. So always the hydrophilic tails are present outside extracellular and present to the intracellular. And this hydrophobic tail, it is present between these hydrophilic heads, and the two tails are uh, interacting with each other. The tail of the this layer, phospholipid layer, and this phospholipid layer tail is interacting. So if you clearly observe these options, it is made up of two layers of phospholipid molecules with the tails interacting with each other. And these tails are making interaction with the van der Waals interactions we can observe between these two tails, that is between the phospholipid bilayers. So answer is D. And coming to the second question, what is meant by a binding site? So if you observe in this peak, so it is a macromolecule. So in this macromolecule, so where the drug is binding, so that pocket or that active site only we are calling it as binding site. So see the options given for this question. The area of a macromolecular target that is occupied by a drug when it binds. And second option, that is the portion of a drug to which a drug target binds. And C, the functional groups used by a drug in binding to a drug target. And D, the bonds involved in binding a drug to its target. So the correct definition we can observe among these four, the first one, the area of a macromolecular target that is occupied by a drug when it binds. That only we are calling it as binding site. So this pic is completely giving the information about that binding site. So the answer is A. So the binding site is a part of the macromolecular target. Binding site is a part of the macromolecular target and not the drug. So it is normally a halo or a cleft of the surface of the target. The functional groups and regions of the drug that are involved in binding to the binding site are known as the pharmacophore. So what are the interactions are making by this drug in this active site? So the which interactions are forming the structure only we are calling it as pharmacophore. So coming to the third question, which of the following binding interaction is likely to be the most important interaction when a drug enters a binding site? So when a drug is entering into the binding site, which is the most important interaction, it is immediately forming. So if you see the option, that is van der Waals interactions, hydrogen bond, ionic interactions, induced dipole interactions. So among these four, so which is mostly it is forming immediately when the drug is entering into the binding site. So the ionic interactions fall off in strength more slowly with the distance. So even though some distance between the macromolecular and your drug means, due to the positive and negative charges, that ionic interactions easily forms when comparing with the other interactions, and so they are likely to be the most important initial interactions. And what is the least interactions we can observe? That is van der Waals interactions are the least likely to be the important as a molecule approaches its binding site. So answer, if you observe, that is the ionic interactions as the correct one. So ionic interactions. So coming to the fourth question, which of the following underlined atoms is likely to be the strongest hydrogen bond acceptor? So hydrogen bond acceptor. So see the options: amide nitrogen, aniline nitrogen, that means amine group, it is attached to the aromatic ring, and amine nitrogen, that is alkyl group attached to the amine group, and carboxylate oxygen. So if you see the options, first three options having the nitrogen, only one it is having the carboxylic acid containing with the oxygen atom with the charge, that is a negative charge, it is present. So if you see which one is having more hydrogen bond acceptor, so generally the more electron rich, the more electron rich the heteroatom containing compound, the better will be the hydrogen bond acceptor. Better will be the hydrogen bond acceptor. Electron rich should be present. So here the carboxylate ion. So the hydrogen is removed from the carboxylic acid and it forms as a carboxylate, COO minus. So it is electron rich. So electron rich means it can easily make a bond with the hydrogen atom. So thus negatively charged oxygen will be the best hydrogen bond acceptor. So if you see the amide, aniline nitrogens will be a poor hydrogen bond acceptors since the lone pair of electrons in each case interacts with a neighboring group of a carbonyl group aromatic ring. Therefore, it is not available to form a hydrogen bonds. So the lone pair of electrons present on the nitrogen atom, so these are going to shifting to the carbonyl group in the amide, and the electrons are shifting towards to the aromatic ring in this aniline nitrogen, and this lone pair of electrons are present. So it is electron. When comparing this, so next hydrogen bond electron donation is present. Next hydrogen bond donation is amine. We can observe this one. Next is this amide, and next is the aniline nitrogen. So here which one is likely to be the strongest hydrogen bond acceptor is the carboxylate oxygen. And next question, which of the following underlined protons is likely to be the strongest hydrogen bond donor? So in the previous question we observed the hydrogen bond acceptor. Now we are observing the hydrogen bond donor. So alcohol ROH, amine are NH2, and phenol AROH, and ammonium ion, that is RNH3. So among these four, which is having the strongest hydrogen bond donor? So if we see the reason which is having hydrogen bond donor, so the answer is the ammonium ion. So the best hydrogen bond donor will be the one where the hydrogen is the most electron deficient, NH3 plus, that means the hydrogen with the H plus, it is present. So that means electron deficient, so that means easily it can donate. So if the ammonium ion, the nitrogen has a positive charge, and this is in turn will make a attached hydrogens electron deficient. So the phenol is likely to be the next best hydrogen bond donor. Next hydrogen bond donor. And then since the oxygen lone pair of electrons will interact with the aromatic ring and give the slightly positive charge we can observe on the aromatic. So that's why this is the next one we can observe hydrogen bond donor. So answer is the ammonium ion. Sixth question, which of the following functional group is most likely to participate in a dipole-dipole interaction? So which of the functional group is most likely to participate in dipole-dipole interaction? Either aromatic ring or ketone or alcohol or alkene. So among these four, so which is forming a dipole-dipole interaction? If you observe, the ketone will have the strongest dipole moment. So due to the electron negative oxygen polarizing the carbonyl bond. So due to the presence of C double bond O, the ketone group, more electronegative oxygen is present. So that's why it is having the more strongest dipole moment. So even alcohol also having the oxygen, but the alcohol will also have a significant dipole moment, but less than that of the ketone. So alcohol also having the somewhat dipole-dipole moment is present, but when comparing with this, alcohol is having the low dipole-dipole moment. So but in the case of this aromatic ring and in the case of alkene, very small negligible dipole moments depending upon the substituents you can observe in this alkene and aromatic ring. So answer is the ketone. Coming to the question 7, Identify the correct name of the following peptide. So it is a peptide. So if you are clearly observing, so this is the tripeptide. Tripeptide. So first we can see the options. First one, that is given the L-alanine, L-phenylalanine glycine, glycel, L-phenylalanine, L-alanine, L-phenylalanine, L-alanine glycine, L-alanine, glycel, L-phenylalanine. So this is the four options given. So this, which is the peptide, which one? Tripeptide. So always the name of the peptide, if you are giving, so always we should consider the naming or starting with the amine side. If you we should follow. So peptides are named starting from the amino acid end, so amino end. So from this we should give the name. So option B is wrong. So why it is wrong means it is started with the glycine. So here if you observe, this is the alanine. So this group is alanine, and this is the phenylalanine, and this remaining part is glycine. So it is a tripeptide. So always I told that the name should be start from the amino end. So this side is glycine. So glycine it is started. That means carboxylic end the name given. So that means, so this B is completely wrong. So then if you observe that, so this side is alanine is present, but they represented phenylalanine. So this also wrong. And two options are there, L-alanyl, L-alanyl. And next if you observe, this position is phenyl is attaching. That is phenyl alanine is present. So this also going to came wrong. And finally, what is the correct answer is the L-alanyl, L-phenylalanine glycine. So if you observe the individual structures of these amino acids, so I given here alanine. So what is representing here? NH2, CH3, COOH. This is the alanine. So this COOH making a peptide bond with the phenylalanine. So phenylalanine structure, phenyl with CH2, NH2, COOH. So this NH is making a bond with this carboxylic acid. Sorry, making a bond with this OH group and making a peptide bond. And next, phenylalanine is binding with a glycine. So answer is the A. Coming to the question 8, which of the following statement is true about a peptide bond? So as we discussed in the before one, so peptide, so the amino acids are forming link by making a peptide bond. So what is a, which of the following statement is true? So this type of questions you should completely observe the question clearly. So are true or false they are asking. So among these four statements, which one is true? So the peptide bond is either planar, non-planar, or it is capable of forming a hydrogen bond. The cis configuration is favored over the trans configuration. The single bond rotation is permitted between nitrogen and the carbonyl group. So this is the options given statements. Among these, which one is true? They are asking. So if you see, so the amino acids, by making a, by removal of this water molecule, and they making a peptide bond, CONH bond is forming. This CONH only we are calling it as peptide bond. So if you observe, the statement B is correct. So statement B is correct. So the NH of the amide, so the NH of the amide, CONH amide, NH of the amide can act as a hydrogen bond donor. So it is acting as a hydrogen bond donor. So this hydrogen is donated. And the carbonyl group can act as a hydrogen bond acceptor. So this carbonyl group act as a hydrogen bond acceptor. Hydrogen bond acceptor. But if you observe the statement A, C, D are false. So why they are false means the peptide bond has a double bond character due to the interaction of the nitrogen lone pair with the carbonyl group. So if you observe that CONH, so between the carbon and nitrogen single bond only present, but the lone pair of electron present on the nitrogen, which is going to donate to the carbon atom. So due to the electronegativity, the electrons are shifted towards the oxygen atom, and the carbon is going to get the partially positive charge. So this lone pair of electrons partially donating to the carbon and making a double bond, between the carbon and nitrogen. So double bond character is present between the uh, carbonyl group and lone pair. So by this prevents the bond rotation. So due to the formation of C double bond N, it prevents the rotation between the peptide bond. So that means a single bond rotation is permitted. So it is not going to permit. So due to the formation of a interaction between the double bond interaction character between the carbon and nitrogen, there is no bond rotation. And we know that the trans isomer is favored over the cis isomer. But here the given is the cis configuration is favored. So trans configuration is favored always when comparing the cis configuration. That's why it is also a wrong one. And if you observe here that the peptide bonds are double bond character, and this prevents the bond rotation and makes a bond planar. So due to a formation of a double bond character between the carbon and nitrogen, the structure is in a planar, not in a non-planar. So it is also a wrong. So correct answer is it is a capable of forming a hydrogen bond, that is due to the NH, hydrogen bond donor, and this oxygen is acting as a hydrogen bond acceptor. So answer is B. Coming to the question 9, identify which of the following terms refer to the arrangement of different protein subunits in a multi-protein complex. So in a multi-protein complex, so the arrangement we can call it as what? Primary structure or secondary structure or tertiary structure or quaternary structure. So the primary, secondary and tertiary structure refer to the different structural levels of a single protein. So all these three, primary, secondary and tertiary, are refers to the structural levels of single protein, but only the quaternary structure refers to the overall structure of the multi-protein complex. So here the question is multi-protein complex, which is arrangement is nothing but we can observe in the quaternary structure. And question 10, which of the following statement is incorrect regarding transport proteins? So we should clearly see that incorrect regarding the transport proteins. So you can see the options they given, they are present in cell membranes and they are served to carry polar molecules across the hydrophobic cell membrane. They are required to transport amino acids across cell membranes, and they are required to transport hydrophobic steroids across cell membranes. So among these four, which is wrong one, incorrect one, we should find out. So they are present in cell membrane. Yes, transport proteins are present in the cell membrane. Correct one. So they serve to carry the polar molecules across the hydrophobic cell membrane. So this transport protein only responsible to transport the polar molecules. So polar molecules does not able to cross the cell membrane. So due to that reason, these transport proteins are useful to transfer these polar molecules inside to the cell. So this also correct one. And they are required to transport amino acid across cell membranes. So amino acids also polar in nature. So that's why they require the to transport inside the cell. These transport proteins are required. This is also a correct answer. But what is the incorrect means they are required to transport the hydrophobic steroids across the cell membrane. So steroids are mostly hydrophobic in nature. So are nothing but lipophilic in nature. So lipophilic means they are easily going to cross the cell membrane. There is no need to use of these transport proteins in the transport of steroids. So steroids are hydrophobic molecules which can pass through the cell membrane without the need of the transport proteins. So answer is the D. They are required to transport. This is the incorrect statement regarding to the transport proteins. So if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and share to your friends. Thank you.